Thank you, Adam. Welcome to the 5 on 5. Tonight I'm joined by U.S. Senator Ron Wyden. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me back.
Well, you know, a big question right now that we have had a lot of discussions about federal law versus Oregon state law when it comes to marijuana. What is your take on it?
Of course, it's incredibly confusing, and let me see if I can lay out federal policy in terms of what I think it ought to be. First of all, it seems to me that the federal government ought to concentrate on the most serious threats, which are really these kingpins, these major cartels. And then second, if the federal government, particularly in the scheduling process, is going to say that cocaine is more dangerous than marijuana, which is the case today, then it seems to me that the federal government needs to do a review and really show that that is based on current and objective medical facts. And
this upcoming November, there's a potential that there might be approval of recreational marijuana that is on the ballot. Do you think that, if approved, should it be treated differently than medicinal marijuana? I mean, what's your take on it?
I feel about this ballot measure, Christine, much like I did when the Death with Dignity law came up. Now, this has served eventually to become a great success, mostly because it increased the use of hospice here in our state. But at the beginning, I was opposed to the law because I was concerned that it would harm low-income senior citizens. But I still went out on the floor of the United States Senate after Oregonians voted on it, and I filibustered in order to protect it. So this is a matter that historically has been left to the states, and I'm going to respect the will of Oregonians.
And you had also been talking to me a little bit about ONC timber. You know, you said some big decisions are going to be made here in September.
That's right. We're really heading into the home stretch in terms of forestry, and of course this is so vital to so many of our rural communities. I think I've been able to put together legislation, and of course I wrote the original timber payments bill, which has brought to our state more than $2.5 billion, and I think once again we've got an approach that can increase in a sustainable way the harvests, well over 350 million board feet, 500,000 acres for harvesting in southern Oregon, and we can protect our treasures, miles, for example, miles and miles of wild and scenic rivers.
Okay, well, much more to come with Senator Ron Wyden. Stay with us. Welcome back to the 5 on 5. Again, I'm joined by U.S. Senator Ron Wyden. And during the break, we were talking about developments in Medicare that a lot of people might be interested in. Could you explain what those developments are?
There's so many seniors, of course, here in the Valley, and I think now we're finally starting to see some meaningful reforms. Medicare in 2014 is hugely different than Medicare when it began in 1965. The big challenge in 2014 is dealing with chronic disease. It's cancer, heart disease, strokes, diabetes, and I've introduced the first bipartisan bill to really focus on trying to assist seniors with those kinds of chronic illnesses on an outpatient basis. The good news is the Obama administration moved administratively to, for the first time, try to offer a reimbursement opportunity through coding that ought to be of some real value to folks, older people here in the Valley.
Where is that bill right now? Is it moving forward? What's next?
We've had one hearing on it in my committee. I now chair the Senate Finance Committee. We have a bipartisan bill, also a bipartisan bill in the House of Representatives. It will be my top priority in the days ahead because if you look at the big challenges for the federal government, Medicare is way more serious than any other.
And another big topic that a lot of people are talking about is the Middle East, what's going on with ISIS. In Iraq for quite a while it looked like we were kind of disengaging militarily, but now it looks like we're ramping back up. What's your take on it?
I was one of 22 in the United States Senate who voted against going to war in Iraq. ISIS is a completely different matter. This is a huge, huge challenge because if ISIS, which of course is a group that is so dangerous that even Al-Qaeda doesn't want to have anything to do with them. If they were to get a beachhead, a place where they can launch terrorist attacks, that would be a great threat to our country. So I do support the efforts to zero in on ISIS and their growth with these targeted bombings. I think we ought to help the Iraqis on the ground and then, of course, try to assist the Kurds, who I think have been a force for stability.
Okay, Senator Wyden, thank you again so much for joining us.
Great, thank you.
We'll be right back.